The World is Storytelling with me, Ronnie, and this time with Dr. Pete Watson, who I met him about a week and a half ago, so this one is coming out pretty soon after it was recorded, which means that it was amazing. Well, all of our episodes are amazing, but you get the point. Now, I'm sure you're subscribed to the podcast, and it's absolutely fantastic to have you here for the first episode of the second year of the podcast. So much more left to come, and before we get going with this week's episode, I'm in Ireland at the moment, and do you know what happens when you tell Irish people jokes? That's right, they start doubling over in laughter. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. So tell a story, one that is true. Yeah. Welcome to The World is Storytelling, Dr. Professor Peter Watson. Doctor.
Yeah, haven't earned Professor yet. Yeah. Okay,
well, after this podcast,
who knows?
The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I shouldn't start off with that, should I?
That's fine.
The reason why we're meeting up is because of a former student of yours, Jack, who was on the podcast recently. The reason why Jack connected us is because we were talking about how football leads into the stories of place. And that's something that I'm fascinated about. I talk a lot about a sense of place. I talk about how stories are often in this sub-fabric of spaces, and you can use different lenses to get in there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what you do. You look at how football, particularly in Latin America, is the lens into society. Would that be correct?
Yeah, no, that's spot on. It's really just looking at how football, most specifically, but sport in general, interrelates with society. I support Southampton. 1976 is our story. When I'm teaching, I love to tell the story of Southampton possibly being the most important club in Latin American history. Because, and again, it's not quite true, but it's an enjoyable yarn to spin.
Tell us.
Because essentially Southampton are the first club to tour Latin America. They go to Uruguay and Argentina in 1904. They have been in the FA Cup final twice in previous years, lost both times. Story of the club, failure. But they are the team that chosen somehow to go and teach football in lots of ways to the Argentines and Uruguayans. Oh. So Southampton go along. They win every game. They thrash everyone. The Argentinians are incredibly impressed by the style of football played. Again, that's not a narrative we've ever heard since about this passing game, incredible talent. Not things associated with Southampton. President Roca of Argentina goes to watch it because this becomes a really big social occasion. The other kind of story that's linked to Southampton, slightly more tenuously, is that Charles Miller, who is one of the pioneers of football in Brazil, is also used to play for Southampton back in the day, before he went to Brazil. One of these things that's really interesting about the stories is they're told in different ways. Yeah. The people who are trying to always overstate, in lots of ways, the importance of English or British football anyway, because again, we should see it as British football. Will say, this was the important moment. We are the founding fathers. Nothing would have happened instead of us. Yeah, if it wasn't for us, Maradona would have existed, Messi wouldn't have existed, all the great Uruguayans wouldn't have existed. All down to Southampton, right there. So
you're saying that the hand of God and England being kicked out is due to you?
Well, no, it's down to them not playing the game properly. They have their own way of playing it. Right. We obviously didn't teach them well enough. But then this is the idea. Part of the way he's telling a story is you need your own style, and Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and all the rest of the South American countries and the rest of the world are saying we have to find our own style. We have to make football our own so we can recognise it. So, footballers like Maradona, like Messi, are inheritors of this old legend of the pibe, the boy that played in the waste grounds, the boy that played in the streets, that played, where football with jumpers for goalposts kind of thing, where you couldn't play anywhere else. And in that space, he had to be creative, he had to be free, he had to be doing tricks, he had to have incredible control to get over puddles or rocks or rubbish or whatever it was. That was the story that became a myth, that became a legend. So Carlos Caselli was a Chilean footballer. He played for Colo-Colo. He was called the king of the square metre because of his dribbling capacity and control. He kind of rises to fame nationally because he is largely responsible for a great run of Colo-Colo in the 1973 Copa Libertadores, a competition that no Chilean club had won to that point. They get to the final, unfortunately they lose it. But Caselli established himself as the great promise. What makes Caselli relevant is that he was also left-winger. He was politically. And in 1973 we have the Pinochet coup, which takes over power from the democratically elected socialist government of Salvador Allende. Cassily is the footballer that most stands up. He was the one that refused to shake Pinochet's hand when Pinochet met the Chilean team before they went to the 1974 World Cup. So this was a very overt gesture of defiance, bearing in mind that many other people had been imprisoned, tortured, and were being disappeared at this time. So it was obviously a very brave gesture. He also wore a red tie, which is again a very overt symbol of his political leanings, again right in front of Pinochet, who made some, let's say, comments revealing he didn't enjoy that symbol.
Right.
So he had this story of standing up, of resistance, in a country where it's very difficult to do so. And what kind of cemented this was, in 1988, Chile had a plebiscite to decide whether Pinochet should carry on or not. And in the meantime, Cassily had to play in Spain. He was effectively a footballing exile. He'd had come back to Chile since then, but he appeared in one of the adverts for the No campaign that was campaigning to get rid of Pinochet, along with his mother, who had been tortured. And you see the mother, she is telling her story, and then Carlos Cassily appears. So you have this story at the start of the dictatorship and the end of the dictatorship, where Cassily embeds himself as not just a great footballer, but also a footballer with a conscience.
I'd never heard of Cassily, actually. I mean...
No, he's not a globally well-known figure. He did play in the 1974 World Cup, and he got himself sent off, which wasn't ideal, again, and that also made him a bit of the enemy. It's like saying, is he deliberately trying to undermine the nation by getting sent off in a very stupid way against West Germany? Well, so when I lived in Colombia, I became a fan of América de Cali, who at the time were known as the Club del Pueblo, the Club of the People. Now, América de Cali, for a long time since their founding, had never won the Colombian Professional League title, and this was due to a curse. I love these kind of stories. So, essentially, when the professional era in Colombia was about to start in 1948, one of the players that had been there was effectively removed from the club. He wasn't part of the club anymore, and he basically cursed the club and said, right, well, America will never win the league now.
Okay.
So then you have this period of over 30 years where America tries, fails to win anything. Eventually they do win the league. The problem is that the way they do this is due to the drug money of the Rodriguez Orejuela brothers. So unfortunately, this long crusade, and they tell the story that we'd had the pitch blessed and we'd gained forgiveness from Garabato, who I think that was the name of the player. In some ways, I always like to think that the curse still applies in some ways, because they got to 3 Copa Libertadores finals in 3 successive years in the 1980s, failed to win all of them. One of them was particularly agonising with a last kick. So I like to think that Garabato says, okay, your drug money maybe got you a few of those, but when it really matters in the Copa Libertadores, you can't win there either.
I was in the Faroe Islands about 8 years ago, something like that, and we'd gone for a hike, and we reached the southernmost point of the southernmost island in the Faroe Islands, and there suddenly you have these old military installations from the Second World War, and then you have a football field. And there was just something, we didn't play football obviously, but I just imagined, if you're playing football there, if that's your where you grow up, the seagulls flying over your head, the squalls of the Atlantic Ocean coming in, and how that place is affected by the sport, and the sport is affected by the place, and then thinking of, is it Bolivia that play their matches, their home matches, the highest in the world?
Absolutely.
And recently they've moved 300 metres even further up to gain a bit of an advantage.
Just showing off now.
So what? Give us a story or two of some interesting.
I remember definitely when I was in Malawi. Again, it was after I'd done my levels. I was 18, and I'd gone out to see a friend. And I remember driving back from Blantyre to Lilongwe. It was exactly the same thing. We'd be driving back in this car through nowhere, and every single village would have a space to play football. And it was just maybe a couple of tree stumps. And you could see a couple of boys playing, mostly boys. Unfortunately, it wasn't really girls, but that was there. And again, so imagine something like that in the heart of Malawi, and then you compare that to the Faroe Islands. 2 completely different experiences of geography and of space, but exactly the same reason that would connect, a blonde Faroese guy and a kid from from Savo or somewhere, or Blantyre. They would know exactly what it is. And again, Colombia's the same. I mean, when we went out there, someone said to us, there are two things you will see in Cali. It's the first thing you'll see is a whole family on a little motorbike. You'll see the mother, the father, 3 kids, and a dog, all on a motorbike, none wearing helmets. And we always looked out for that. We got close a few times. Sometimes we saw 3 kids but not the dog. Sometimes 2 kids and a dog or a cat. So that was definitely a thing. The other one is that wherever you go, you'll see people playing football. Yeah. And the best example of it was there was quite a busy kind of dual carriageway that went through Cali, and there was one particular bit where the middle of the dual carriageway had a fairly wide space of waste ground, and there were kids playing football on that ground, between a busy road with lorries, buses, cars flooding past, just because they could. And that's the way it is all over the world. I think my most unusual story of something that happened in my life is that I was friends with the Crown Prince of Dubai's son. He was in my class in Dubai, so I went to the palace twice, including once for his birthday party. Okay. So there's my weird brag of knowing royalty. We're not still in touch, sadly. Made a mistake.
Did you ever play football with the Crown Prince of Dubai?
Yeah, we definitely had a kick round. Yeah, we kicked round. We also, I remember we played softball as well. That was a game that we played in the Dubai English-speaking school back in the day. I'm actually a Chilean and Portuguese cricket international as well. So there's another random story of, again, being in the right place at the right time in a country that doesn't have many cricketers, being reasonably good at cricket in my own little way, or loving cricket very much. But yeah, I played for Portugal against an England 11 that was brought out by Graham Gooch for his testimonial year. And the Chilean one was I was out there teaching English and sport in a school in Santiago. There was a kind of British club nearby. I was invited to go along. They heard I played cricket. I played a bit, did quite well. They were going on tour to Peru to play a tournament in Peru, so I went with them. And played 2 one-day internationals for Chile and Peru. Definitely not acquired official status, but technically I am.
Precisely, and I'm all about the technicality. So it's been great to sit here with the international cricketer, Dr. Peter Watson. And, no, this has been absolutely fantastic, and I could talk forever, but the train's leaving soon. So thank you so much for coming to the world of storytelling, and buy Peter's book.
Some say the old ruins in the sand tell us every story will come to an end. But my dear, we can live what we tell. We are storytelling animals.